is stretching the flexor side of the foot, which is our plantar fascia or our plantar musculature. So what we want to do is kind of the same idea we did for the extensor side, is we're going to have two different angles of the foot to try to work more from the toe side or work more from the big toe side. So what she's going to do is she's going to go ahead and curl those toes under on both sides. And we're just going to keep it general right now so that her foot is a little bit more straight. And all she's going to do is now sit back on those heels. And as she sits back on those heels, it's like we want to let the toes bend and the balls of the feet to come down towards the floor and try to feel that stretch through the bottom of the foot, right? The knees are about parallel with each other in the front. We want to try to manage the spine. And again, whatever our ability is for the mobility here in the foot is we can lean back on it a little bit more to try to give us a little bit more pressure onto the foot, okay? Or as she leans forward, we can tuck those feet under us a little bit more and try to then sit back. That will help increase that toe extension to try to stretch the flexors of the foot. Now we can be a little bit more specific. She can tip those heels out a little bit to try to get more into the little toes, or she can tip that foot in a little bit to try to get more towards the big toe, and you should feel that more on this inside part of the arch here as far as the stretch goes. Again, we're going to try to hold this for 30 seconds times 3. We can do it both feet at the same time. We can do it one foot at the same time. But even for those slight symptoms of plantar fasciitis, this is a good stretch for you to try to help normalize this, aside from stretching the top of the foot as well. The next stretch we're going to look at is stretching the calf muscles. So the calf muscle is made up primarily of two significant muscles, one being the gastroc and the other one being the soleus. The soleus is the deeper part of that calf muscle, which helps to plantar flex or point the toes of the foot. Usually that muscle is more engaged when the knee is bent, so we have the knee bent in this position. And so what I want her to do is we're going to get in a kneeling posture. I want you to slide this heel back almost where the heel and the knee are close to each other. They don't have to be right in the same position, but the heel is maybe just in front of that down knee. I want you to go ahead and sit down into that position, okay? Right like that, okay? And let's slide that heel back a little bit more. So go ahead and take both hands around the front of your foot like that, okay? And I want you to use your body to lean into that thigh like you want to keep this heel down on the ground, and then you're gonna push that knee forward over the top of your foot. So try to keep pressing that down, pull up on those toes like you're leveraging to try to press with your body that knee and that thigh to go forward over the toes. So don't lift the whole foot, just lift sort of the front of the foot and go forward with the knee. There we go. And as you go forward, try to keep that spine as straight as you can. And you should feel some of that stretching in this lower part of the calf, like around the Achilles area, which is that big tendon that we have back here above our heel, and this lower muscle area that's going up towards the bigger part of the calf, which is the gastroc. So the next stretch we want to look at is stretching some of those muscles along the front of the shin. So you have a muscle called your anterior tibialis, and it goes down the front of the shin here, and what that does is it helps you to lift your toes up towards your knee. And so that muscle can also get very tight. A lot of these smaller muscles in the lower part of the leg usually get ignored. So again, that can affect how the foot is moving, how the ankle is moving, and again, work up the chain to be a problem. So we have Barb sitting here. We're gonna try to get those thighs parallel to each other. Again, if this isn't the most comfortable position for you in this down kneeling position, because a lot of us have these tight knees, or if you have arthritic knees, it can be a little bit problematic. Sometimes what I like to do is I take out a yoga block and I stick that underneath me so that I can sit up a little bit, and then that way it takes away some of that compressed feeling on the knees, okay? So you don't have arthritic knees, so we're gonna make you go down. So in the back side, her toes are pointed back out behind her, so she's in this type of position where the foot is pointed backwards, and she's up on top of those heels with her pelvis. So that now that she's in this position, what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna lift one knee up. So go ahead and take your hands to the ground just to give you a little stability, okay? So if she lifts one knee up, that's creating more of a stretch through the front of that shin right there. And if we maintain the pelvis and the spine as she lengthens, and she even tries to press the ankle part down into the floor as she lifts that knee up, we're gonna get a lot of stretching through the front of that shin there. Now she can advance the exercise and try to do both at the same time, which is a little bit more difficult, but it definitely creates more tension in those legs because you have your body weight through both of those legs at the same time. Whereas if you do it one leg at a time, it's a little bit more easy to control the intensity of the stretch. So you can play with that, try to lift those knees up. I've definitely done this stretch not only just on the floor, but on an elevated surface. So you could do that like on a countertop, or you can do that on your bed and try to be more in a standing position if kneeling down on the ground is more difficult for you. But again, 30 seconds of hold time for the stretch 3 times. To wrap up some of the mobility exercises for that foot, ankle, knee series is you can definitely add in up the chain stretches, like working with your hamstring stretches, working with a quad stretch, and then working with your glute stretch. That kind of helps complete the lower limb or the leg to try to help to mobilize all of that link or tissue that we have that goes all the way to the pelvis, especially if you're feeling a lot of these symptoms in your lower back or your SI joints or your hips. We need to make sure that we complete that whole series. We've done some of these stresses before in other videos, so you can check out those videos as far as how to correct hip mobility or even knee mobility and even lower back mobility. But these are some of the key stretches that we like to do for this lower part of the leg.